We have an hour together for your overview. And what I normally do is I will check in with you at the beginning just to see what your goals are for coaching, what you're learning about yourself, what you think's working well, and where the gaps might be. And then we go in to listen to the recording together and have a look at where you're at with the professional qualities.
For me, the overview process, like what this process does for people who are in the coach training, is it really helps you hear yourself, which is painful most of the time. Especially you're hearing yourself trying to do something that you're trying to learn to do, which is painful. And you're getting someone giving you feedback on it, which depending on your relationship to feedback, my relationship to feedback is painful. So here we go. Lots of pain, buckle up. I'm excited though for us. Really am.
How would you like me to give you feedback?
Directly and just like I'm a student. Yeah. Just like I'm one of your students, like you are an ICF assessor who's looking at my recording as meticulously as you possibly can.
Okay. And what are your reasons for having this overview?
I want to, well, first I want to clarify the time model. So I have a couple agendas I want to get from this. One is I really want to produce something that people can watch and listen to that helps create a deeper understanding of the time model and like what exactly are we talking about when we're talking about setting an agenda as coaches, and how can they do it? That's one thing. So one is an example. Two, I'm kind of curious, like honestly, like, a part of me is curious about my own, like, where do you think I'm at? You know, kind of thing. Yeah, I want to know, like, do I still have it? If I'm being completely transparent. And the other reason three is I really love working with you and this is fun. So let's have fun and create a fun video for people to watch. Those are my three things.
Okay. And what's your core motivation, John? I
am an enthusiast, a 7 on the guy. I'm a 7 through and through. I've embraced 7-ness and I'm okay with it. Like, I feel like I understand the happy parts of it. And I also understand the parts that I have to work on. I feel lucky that I found this when I was relatively young. So I was able to make life choices and make big decisions based on a pretty high degree of self-awareness. And so, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into it, I'm just curious. I heard you say, I want to see if I've still got it. What is that?
I was just trying to be funny. Like, I'm pretty sure I still have it because I coach a lot. But I don't know if I have a blind spot, then I want to know it. You know, if there's something that I can do better, I want to know it. But I'm kind of curious to see if I have blind spots in my coaching, where you have suggestions on where I could be a better coach. I'm always game for that. And I listen to my own recordings. I watch my own, like when I lead courses, I watch that. I listen to these podcasts. I give myself, self-feedback. I try not to be too critical or hard on myself. I feel like I've really embodied what's it like to get a lot of feedback, self-feedback. And yeah, this is an opportunity for it. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, so based on the recording that you reviewed, what did you think your blind spots were?
I was surprised that I didn't get measurability at all. Like, it just wasn't there. And then echo either. And part of me wondered why. And I thought, it was when I was leading a course, so maybe there was course pressure. Maybe I picked it up later in the session, like I snuck it in, but I didn't. And then I felt like, why? Like, what? That's not, I just missed it. Did I just straight up miss it? So It's funny how much that bugged me for about an afternoon. Like it was sort of sitting there just gnawing at me. Uh, yeah, I'm curious. I'm really, I really want to watch it again and see why. Like, is there a reason? Like, I'm actively curious.
Okay, and another question I have, I know we're looking at the agenda setting in a time model. Yeah, we're looking at the professional qualities, number one. We also look at checking in on the actions and then that transition to the agenda.
Right. That's interesting to me because what I do hear sometimes, like from my end, like when people are getting assessed, is that sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, like I didn't check in on the previous session because it's a new session with a client. I need points for that. I didn't get points for that." I've gone back and forth about how deep to make that a part of the assessment. I think it's an important part. I think that but it's not a part that happens all the time. With Lawrence, no, this was just in a class. So there wasn't anything to follow up on, but I find that follow-up, there's an art to that follow-up. And I think the art to the follow-up when people are looking at accountability from before is not to judge whether or not someone follows through on the activity as judgment on your worth or how effective the coaching is. There needs to be some awareness and some accountability to, are you as a client reaching the strategic goals that we're trying to achieve through this coaching? And that's important. Mm-hmm. In that accountability, I think the art of it is using the accountability to help design a client's relationship to following through, period, on anything. And not necessarily that one time as a, yay, coaching is working, or boo, it's not.
So that's more about their relationship to accountability.
Right on. And about what are they learning about themselves in the process of doing the action? That to me is if a coach can accomplish that in the first 10 minutes of a coaching call, then you basically set the whole coaching call up. Like the foundation of the coaching call becomes really strong right away. I'm confident. Like I've listened to a lot of coaching too. Mm-hmm. And you get a sense really, really quickly when an experienced coach is working with a client. Clients often tend to float like balloons. It feels like they're floating ideas to see how you react. And I think part of it, especially when you're working with young people, adults do it too, though. But they kind of float this idea and they just want to see how you react to it. And then judging on how you react as a coach, whether you go along with the stereotypical response or do you really pause and take it in a different way? I think the clients tend to gather a lot of information about their coach in that first couple minutes. Mm-hmm. And then they decide, how am I going to be as a client? Do I feel safe? Do I feel like I'm going to open up? And as a coach, in those couple minutes, if you can take a bold stance, like if you can do something bold and a little bit risky, just shake it up a little bit, that to me just sets the whole session up for, this is going to be good. This is going to really work. So that's what I'm trying to do in this first couple minutes.
I imagine we have a 30-minute coaching session. What would be useful for us to look
at? I'd like to talk about starting my private coaching practice, which I'm doing at the same time that I'm working at IBM during the day. I'm going to be doing my private coaching practice in the evening. And so it's just balancing those two things and just sort of some of the things that I need to accomplish to get it off the ground.
Mm-hmm. That's exciting. Congrats.
Thank you.
Big step.
Thank you.
What's the, I'm curious, like when you say that out loud, like, what's it like to say that out loud?
It is exciting. It's, you know, when I say it out loud, it's funny because it feels like a big unknown. It
Mhm.
that, you know, I'm not sure what to expect when I say it out loud, and I'm not scared by that. I'm not frightened by it. I just find it to be kind of exciting and interesting.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned balance. What's the important earlier? Like, what's the I don't know, it didn't not fear, but what's the concern about balance?
There's a couple of concerns. One is um, if when I guess this is a concern that may happen further down the line, but when I get a certain critical mass of clients, or if I get a client, say, that wants to pull me into sessions during the day, like how would I handle that? Can I handle that? Things like that. And the second concern I have is just sort of work-life balance. Like if I'm working during the day and I've got my private clients at night, when will I have kind of time to myself, time to spend with my friends, um, you know, things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I hear that. Well, what's the thing today? Like, what's the tangible takeaway that would make a difference in the next 2 weeks?
I'm kind of curious your thoughts if you want to go first.
Well, first thing that jumped out to me was this is quite fast for you. The pace is quite
Oh,
fast,
the pace is fast. Yeah.
which normally, I mean, you know, you're up there in holding the space, so you're going into it very fast. What was causing that?
I think I'm trying to get to a topic later in the class, and I think you only have 20 minutes. I'm trying to shove a whole session in a little bit of time. So I'm trying to make it snappy and like, come on, get there, get there, get there, get there. But at the same time, I feel like I'm oddly not connected to him, is what I'm hearing. I'll let you go for more. Yeah.
Yeah, something was pulling you out of
Mm-hmm.
being present, or you know, that level 2 listening, which I've seen you be so great at. So I was like, what? There was speed there, and something else was taking place.
Right. When I'm hearing it, what I think what's happening, I'm listening. I'm trying to hit a home run is what I'm trying to do. I'm listening for it, and I'm trying to hit a really fast home run. And I also know Lawrence. He's super high caliber. He works at IBM, at the Watson Group at IBM. He's in charge of this big coaching program, and I want. I don't know. I'm just trying to hit a home. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm trying to hit a home run based on like little pop-ups, and it's not working. It's not connecting. But it's also not terrible. It's just not, you know.
And to the train, not to the trained ear, you wouldn't normally pick up on that. Yet it's really valuable what you're sharing, because the other thing, especially with new coaches, I mean, even established coaches, when you have something like that, is what comes up around the value add. You're trying to hit a home run. What's going on for you as a coach when you're trying to do that?
Well, I feel like I don't, yeah. Well, I think if I just was with him, it would be better. You know, like that last part, I feel like the question I asked didn't have much to do with what he just said. But there is something I'm picking up. I think part of it is I'm not sure that what he's bringing up, I feel like he already knows the answer to what he's bringing up. But I'm not quite figuring out how to get it directly. I know there's something tickling my intuition, but I can't quite grab it and articulate it in a way that Lawrence can see it too. And that's what I'm really, really trying to do right now. And it's not coming to me. So I'm just going with questions that I feel like, okay, this will move it forward, but it might not be the most connected question ever. That's what's happening.
Yet we're only 2 minutes 30 in. So what advice would you give somebody else?
Let's let it roll. Let's see where it goes. Like it's so far not disqualifying, but nothing like, yay, like, send to the ICF about.
Okay. Should we keep going?
These, yeah.
Well, what's the thing today? Like, what's the tangible takeaway that would make a difference in the next 2 weeks? Or
The tangible takeaway is really it's right now it's very logistical. So I've got my website up and running. I've got some business cards made, but I need to make some changes. So, like for example, I'm working with a graphic artist to get a logo done. I have to get back in touch with her because I've been out of touch with her for a while. I'm also when I asked about payment for her, she suggested a barter. So I also have to set up a time when I'm going to be coaching her for her services.
yeah.
So it's right now it's mainly logistics. Also a Facebook page. I want to get the Facebook page up and running as well. So it's just a lot of task management, I think, right now.
What's the real challenge? Like, what's the big thing that you find is, like, what's here?
I think the big thing, I'm not sure how to put it into words. For a time I was questioning, like, do I need to do this? Do I want to do this? I love what I'm doing at IBM, actually. And I am a coach at IBM, so I am coaching. And so I think the big thing is sort of coming to a real resolution on that question, and I know sort of intellectually that the answer is that I can sort of control my own destiny. I have more control. I'm creating something that is truly of my own. And is that really, do I want to do that? Is that what this is all about? And it's that question that kind of swirls around me from time to time.
Okay. So if we answer that question with absolute clarity in the next 30 minutes, would it be worth it?
Yeah.
All right.
What are your thoughts as we're listening?
I'm kind of curious what you're thinking.
I think that was a great question. I shifted him in terms of, it's like, what is this really about?
Right.
I mean, his energy, there were lots of I have to's in there. I mean, he was talking about being kind of logistical and tactical, and you open something out with that question. What shifted for you in asking that? Like, what happened?
It got real. Like, I was listening level 2. Level 2. I felt the level 2 click in, where it's like, okay, he's now into real territory. This is more than just his being successful in setting up a side, having a small handful of clients. This is really about how does he see himself as a person, his value as a coach, and how that's delivered. And it could get there. I feel like that last little bit, like I just gathered a ton of curiosity material to work over. Like I have 50 million questions in my head right now, right? Like all about like, what does it mean?
And in that one question, actually, you were hitting a number of different qualities.
Right.
Curiosity, empowering, there's some direct communication there. Like, well, okay, what is this really about? What's going on here? All of those bits in that question.
Listening to this is the third time I've listened to it. I'm a little struck how hard I was on myself after the first and the second time I listened to it, where I thought I was way more like I'm surprised at how hard I was on myself. Uh, and thank you for that. Like, I think those last two questions, I did pack a lot into those last two. Even that, like, if we answer this with absolute clarity, I mean, does that count for measurability? I don't know. I think no. I'd like to see one more step. If I were to send this in to get assessed. But would I say measurability is entirely absent? Not really.
No, I don't think it's absent. You got the topic. You got him to dig deeper with the importance. And you asked about measurability. Yeah, perhaps another question. Echo back.
Yeah. How many questions was that, Raj? How many questions did I ask? And what time marker are we at?
That was the end. So that was 5 minutes.
5 questions? 5 or 6 questions I asked?
It was about 5.
Okay. Yeah, I think 3 more questions would have just been like, 3 questions would have done it well. 3 more. But yeah, all around, like, his identity, what would it mean? So let's say if we answer this question, like, what would come out of it? What would change if he knew? Like, if he got this clarified answer, what would change? And I continue from here, but I'm off on a topic, like I have a training agenda to meet. That train's taken off. I better catch it. That's what's happening there.
So why were you so hard on yourself?
I don't know. I think part of it is I knew that I was going to do this and I wanted to do it for coaches, and I wanted to get one that I felt like was okay, but not great. But I think I was hard on myself because I felt like I missed measurability, and it was so ripe. Like, it just was like the topic was so good. I got him in such a good spot that it would have been so easy to ask him 2 or 3 more questions that would have really just made it great. I think that's what it was. I think there's a part of me that shifts to a perfectionistic side, and I want it to be perfect, and it's not. So I get really hard on myself.
So what advice do you give to others who are hard on themselves? A lot of people are hard on themselves before they come into an overview.
Well, I have an interesting relationship because I think some things I need to be hard on myself to do. There are some things that, no, John, really do get the website in order right now. And then other things, I think it's as long as there's effort and putting effort into it. Yes. Like, I think it matters. With Lawrence, I know him. I'm really happy we got to this spot. I don't know why. I feel like I just missed opportunities, and that's what I feel hard on myself for. Like, I got him to a good space. There's opportunities, and that would be consistent with the kind of feedback that the ICF would give, where they would say something like, this is good, but they're like, the coach is missing opportunities to dig deeper. I've seen that a lot on the ICF reports, like when they send back feedback to us.
And what level would that be for?
MCC. I've seen mostly from MCC level, myself and other people I've MCC mentored. But PCC too. Yeah, they would say that in the same as PCC. I have ACC is usually pretty easy. Like, it's still a thing, but it's they're very encouraging, which is cool.
So there's another curious question, because you have years of experience. You're an MCC coach. You have your own unique style, and you have different ways of asking those importance and measure questions. New coaches, or as we all grow, we're trying to build that skill set and that muscle. How do we do that?
What I learned, a pivot point for me in my coaching, and it happened 2 or 3 years after I was trained, And if I could give coaches anything early in the training, it would be this pivot point. And it's pivoting away from trying to prove the value of coaching based on the immediate value that solving this problem that a client is bringing to a session. Like, the value of coaching equals the solution to that, one-time problem. What I'm realizing now about the real value of coaching, like the deeper value of coaching, is the system of curiosity that a coach is using that helps clients see their lives differently. And it's that difference in, wow, I never really truly saw it, whatever that is, in that way. How does that experience ripple out and change other aspects of the client's life? That is like, if you as a coach can grab that and have a moment where a client in real time, in a real coaching session, has a deep realization on the system of either mental or emotional, energy that they're using, their patterns, that's priceless. In making that pivot away from, like with Lawrence, let's get clarity on this. But what I'm really after is, what does this mean about the way he sees himself and the identity of himself as a person? That is what I'm after. And if I go after that, thinking in myself, listening to patterns of thought and emotion, it's going to be really helpful. The surface agenda of, I want clarity around this, that's useful, but not as useful as an insight to the process that he uses to get there. That's the pivot point. It's away from a solution and looking more towards the process and trusting that the solution is going to be there. In some coaching courses, I say, well, the solution or finding the solution is irrelevant. And that's meant to really just shake people up and just get them off that train completely. It's not that it's irrelevant. It's that it's a trap, and getting caught up in it is a really sure way that is a way to ensure that you're coaching the problem, not the client, which only reinforces all of the mental, emotional patterns that the client is using to create the problem in the first place. So you can see that happen again and again, and it feels like the coaching becomes a sticky advice session that makes people feel bad.
So it's being mindful not to lock yourself in with that bit at the measure and know that there are deeper bits there.
Right.
People get locked in. This is what the client wanted, and then they're coaching on that measure, that presenting measure bit.
That's it exactly. That's a great way to say it, getting locked in. That's because then a whole session feels like, I've heard sessions like this too, where the time model locks them into coaching the problem. And then the whole rest of the session, it feels like, oh man, we're problem coaching. We're problem coaching. And that's where, like, okay, so like this with Lawrence, like it would have been like, okay, the problem coaching would look like, let's then look at your schedule, your work schedule, and let's see how many hours a week do you want to do this? Like, does it make sense for you do you have a break? Do you want to try to fit them in on this break? Like, can you negotiate, maybe you work only Monday through Thursday, and these kind of solutions. I've heard them. I've heard coaching go that way. That's coaching the problem.